Ever feel like with poetry, it's either like way too out there or it's trying so hard to be relatable that it just falls flat? Like unicorn tears 1 minute, and then it's something you'd see on a, motivational poster the next.
Totally.
But today we're diving deep into Lola Nova's poetry, and she's somehow figured out how to walk that line.
She really does.
It's kind of amazing, actually.
It is. And I think what grabs you about her work right away is how she can talk about these like big timeless themes, things like finding yourself, love, resilience, but it never feels like old or cliche. Her voice is super modern.
It's true. It's almost like you could bump into her at like a coffee shop or something.
Totally.
And end up having this deep conversation.
Exactly.
So to get a feel for her work, we're focusing on her first 5 poems, kind of like a Lola Nova starter pack, if you will.
Love that. And I think it's smart because you immediately get why everyone's calling her poetry, like a shot of espresso for the soul.
I've heard that. Okay, so how about we unpack that metaphor a little? The first poem, To Live, it just hits you with this raw energy right from the start.
Right.
It's like she's grabbing you, like, listen up, this is important.
It's interesting you say that because in interviews, she talks about how the world today just throws distractions at us constantly.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like she's taking that same kind of intensity, that in-your-face quality of like, our phones and everything, and using it to make you pay attention to something that actually matters.
And she does it with such simple images, like rain, wings, footprints. It's not like she's being super cryptic, but it just hits you with so much power. How does she do that?
I think it's the way she uses rhythm and pacing. Like there's that line, after the rain, leave your footprints on the earth, not your wings. Hear how it slows down on earth, not your wings.
Oh, yeah.
It makes you pause, makes you actually think about those words.
Wow, you're right. I never even thought about it like that before, but you're so right. It's like she's putting these little moments of mindfulness right into the poem.
Yes.
Which, when you think about it, is like genius for people who are super busy.
Absolutely.
Well, they might only have a few minutes, but she makes them count.
Exactly. It's that bite-sized wisdom that people are raving about.
Right. Huge truths packed into these really short, powerful lines. Okay, so now I need to know what's next. Poem 2 is called To Love Yourself, and honestly, the title alone is like something you'd see like on a self-help book.
Right.
It's very direct.
But then the poem itself, it totally delivers.
Yeah.
Because what's so interesting here is that Lola Nova doesn't talk about self-love like it's just some feeling you have or don't have. It's something you do. It's active.
Yes. And she tells you exactly how to do it. Forgive the one in the mirror, believe in her strength, stop punishing her for past mistakes. It's like she's giving us permission to actually be nice to ourselves.
Which, let's be real, so many of us struggle with that.
For sure.
We're way too quick to judge ourselves, to only see our flaws. But Lola Nova's like, nope, you deserve the same kindness you'd show anyone else you care about.
It's so true. It's like that saying, you wouldn't talk to a friend that way.
Exactly.
So why are you talking to yourself like that? And she's like, enough. It's time to start showing yourself some love.
And it's really cool. Even the way the poem is structured reinforces this whole idea of self-compassion.
Oh, how so?
Each line, it's like this gentle reminder to be kind to yourself.
I didn't even catch that, but it's so true. Now I'm even more fascinated by how she uses the structure to bring out the meaning.
Right.
Okay, so poem 3 is called There Are No Uglies, and I feel like this is where she might be tackling some beauty standards.
Oh, 100%. She's playing with language here.
Yeah.
Directly taking on this obsession we have with how people look. It's like she's asking who gets to decide what ugly even is.
And she does it by taking things that are usually considered ugly, like a melody that's kind of jarring or a painting that maybe isn't technically perfect. And she shows you the beauty in them. It's powerful.
It really is. She's expanding what we think of as beautiful, Like, look beyond the surface. Find what's worthwhile in the things that are different, the things that are imperfect. It's a really inclusive message.
It is. And it makes me think of that quote, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Totally.
Lola Nova saying, open your eyes, look around. There's beauty everywhere if you're willing to see it.
Yes. That's a great way to put it. Okay, so speaking of seeing things in a new way, Lola Nova takes us inward with poem 4, A Minute of Memory.
Yeah, this one feels different, more, reflective, personal. I'm curious to see how it connects back to the themes of resilience and finding yourself that we've been talking about.
Well, this is where we get a peek into Lola Nova's own life, because this poem is dedicated to her dad, who passed away.
Oh, wow. That definitely adds a whole other layer to it. I can't wait to dig into this one. Yeah, knowing it's about her father, it definitely hits differently. I think what really struck me right away was like, even though it's so personal, it doesn't feel like, I'm intruding or something. It's more like she's inviting everyone into that experience of grief, but in a way that helps you deal with your own experiences with loss.
It's true.
It's amazing, actually.
Yeah, I think that's Lola Nova's, like, superpower as a poet.
Right.
She can take something deeply personal and make it feel universal. And in A Minute of Memory, she does that with these images that, like, anyone can connect with, no matter what your background is. The trees her dad planted, the
Yeah.
house he kept warm, the art he made.
Yeah.
They become metaphors for, like, what we all leave behind,
Yeah. Yeah.
our legacy.
Absolutely. And that line, oh my gosh, that line about the eternal figure eight of the family line, it's like haunting, but in a good way. It just stays with you.
It's like she's saying, even though we die, like physically, something of us remains.
Yeah.
Our spirit, our energy, it connects us to the people who came before us and the people who will come after.
Oh, for sure.
And that we're all a part of something so much bigger.
Oh, totally. It gives me chills every time. But you know what I find interesting? Even with all of that, that sense of loss, there's still this feeling of hope underneath it all. Like, yes, we grieve, but life keeps going.
It does. And I think that's where you really see Lola Nova's belief in, like the power of resilience, even in the face of, really tough things.
Yeah.
Remember those lines? Of course, they made mistakes. Sometimes they fell, but they kept going.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's not shying away from the fact that life is messy. We all screw up.
Yeah.
But it's about moving forward.
Yes. Oh, I love that. It's like she's giving us permission to embrace all of it.
Yes.
The good stuff and the bad stuff, the moments we're proud of and the ones where we're like, ugh, I wish I could take that back. And it makes me think about how that connects to loving yourself. Like, can you really say you love yourself if you don't accept the parts of you that aren't perfect?
That's a great point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like by accepting those who came before us with all their flaws and their mistakes, we learn to accept ourselves.
Yes, 100%. Like, Lola Nova doesn't make it easy, but she makes you think.
She does.
And just when I think I'm starting to figure her out, we get to Poem 5, Enlightenment.
Right.
And it's like a whole new world.
Yeah. Totally a different vibe. You're right. There's a shift, like this longing for something more. But what's so cool is she still keeps it real. She's not talking about, like, going off to live in a cave for a year to find yourself.
Yeah.
It's more about finding those moments of peace and clarity in, like, the everyday.
Yes, exactly.
The way she uses those contrasting images, you've got the bare wires, which makes me think of, like, feeling exposed,
Yeah, yeah.
But then there's the heavenly light of enlightenment.
Yeah.
It's like she's saying, to reach that place of peace, you got to be willing to let go of everything,
Yes. Yeah, totally. And it's like she's not saying it's going to be easy either.
Right. It takes courage to be that open.
Yeah, it does. But that seems to be like a recurring theme with her, don't you think? That willingness to be vulnerable, to like really lean into the whole human experience, the good, the bad, all of it.
100%. It's like she's saying true strength isn't about pretending you've got it all together, but about facing those messy parts of yourself with, like, honesty and compassion.
Yeah, and that ties back so beautifully to everything we've been talking about with resilience and self-love. Like, maybe part of really understanding ourselves, like really loving ourselves, means accepting all of it, the imperfections, the struggles, everything.
Exactly. And, I think that's what makes Lola Nova's poetry so powerful, especially now. Like, we're constantly bombarded with this pressure to look perfect, to have it all figured out.
Right.
But Lola Nova's like, nope, it's okay to be a work in progress. And to me, that is such a refreshing message.
It really is.
Yeah.
The fact that she can deliver these like profound messages, but in a way that's so relatable, so down to earth.
Totally.
It's like she's sitting down for a chat.
It really does feel that way, right?
Yeah.
Like inviting you into this conversation about life and what it all means. Speaking of which, before we wrap up our deep dive into these first 5 poems, I wanted to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about A Minute of Memory. You said it really stuck with you. What was it about that poem that left such a, like, lasting impression?
It's funny because when I first read it, I was really drawn to that whole idea of legacy, and how we're all connected through time. But after talking about it, what really stays with me is that line, of course they made mistakes, sometimes they fell, but they kept going. It's such a simple line, but man, it's powerful.
It is. And I think it speaks to Lola Nova's understanding of what it means to be human.
Yeah.
She's not afraid to show the struggles, the regrets, all of it.
Right. And it's that act of keeping going That's what makes us who we are.
Exactly. Not our failures, but our willingness to get back up and keep trying.
Yes. It's like she's saying your mistakes don't define you. What defines you is that you learn from them and keep moving forward.
Yes, 100%. And honestly, that's a message I think we all need to hear a little more often, especially these days.
It's so easy to get caught up in comparing ourselves to others, and then feeling like we're not good enough.
Totally.
Yeah.
But Lola Nova's poetry, it's like this reminder that we're all just doing our best.
It really is. It's like a balm for the soul, like you said.
Exactly. So as we wrap up our deep dive on Lola Nova's first 5 poems today, I'm curious, what are you taking away from this?
Honestly, I'm just blown away by how much she packed into these 5 poems.
Right.
Like, we went from this really urgent call to embrace life, to the importance of self-love, to challenging beauty standards, to finding peace in the face of loss.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It really is.
And, for anyone listening who's intrigued, who wants to dive deeper into Lola Nova's world,
Yeah.
I highly recommend checking out her other work. It's definitely worth exploring.
100%. And as you're exploring her work, remember that question we talked about earlier about enlightenment being a gift?
Right.
What role do we play in that? Do we go looking for it, or does it kind of sneak up on us when we least expect it?
I love that. Maybe it's a little bit of both. Something to ponder as we navigate, all the ups and downs life throws our way.
Exactly. Until next time, everyone, keep those hearts and minds open.
Yep.
And remember what Lola Nova taught us: life, with all its messy beauty, it's a poem. So savor every word.